Hello everyone, I'm Lizelle at Math Ethic. Today we're going to study about factoring polynomials. Factoring polynomials is to write the quantity as a product, and it is the opposite of multiplications. Like for example, in multiplications, we have 6 times 2 is equal to 12, where 6 times 2 is our factor and 12 is the product. And in factorizations, we have the opposite of multiplications, which is 12 is equal to 6 times 2, where 12 is our product and 6 times 2 is our factor. Every polynomial ex positive b of degree 1 is irreducible. Before we factor a polynomial, we must specify the number system or set from which the coefficients of the factors are to be chosen. In this video, we will use the rule that if polynomials has integral coefficients, then the factor should be polynomials with integral coefficients. Then to factor a polynomials, it means that we can express it as the product of irreducible polynomials. Then we can use the greatest common factors of an expression if the product of the two factors that appear in each term with each of these factors raised to the smallest non-zero exponent appearing in any term. Then in factoring polynomials, it is advisable to first factor out the GCF. Let's for example 25x squared positive 25x negative 150. Remember that 25 here is our lowest integral value and it is common to them, so we can use 25 as our greatest common factor. Then let's have 25 times the quantity of x squared positive x negative 6, and we must find two binomials whose first terms have a product of x squared and whose last terms have the product of negative 6, and also the sum of outer terms and the product of inner terms must be positive x, and 25 times x positive 3 x negative 2 is our factor. It is usually difficult to factor polynomials of degree greater than 2. In simple case, the following factoring formulas may be useful. Each formula can be verified by multiplying the factors on the right of the equal signs, and it can be shown that the factors x squared positive xy positive y squared and x squared negative xy positive y squared and the difference in the sum of two cubes respectively are irreducible over the real numbers. And let's have the formulas of difference of two squares. In factoring, we can have x squared negative y squared is equal to x positive y times x negative y. Remember that positive and negative, each binomial are different signs, so we can factor first 9e squared, which have 3e squared, and negative 16 becomes negative 4 squared. And then we can have a factor first, so we can have 3a, copy this 3a because the square root of 9e squared is 3, so we can have 3a, then copy negative 4. Then we can use the formulas since we have negative and the other one is positive, so 3e positive 4. Then let's do in factoring, we can check if our answer is correct. To check, we can have the multiplication process. Then you should know how to multiply polynomials. Then 3a times 3a becomes 9a squared. Then 3a times 4 becomes 12a. Then negative 4 times 3a becomes negative 12a. Then Negative 4 times 4 becomes 16. And 16, we cancel out this one. Then the remaining is 9 is squared, negative 16. Therefore, our answer is correct, which is our factor is 3a negative 4, 3a positive 4. And that's answer. Then let's have another formula. We have difference of two cubes. The product of the same three factors is called a cubes. Then the cube root of a cube is one of the three equal factors. Then in this formula, we can use that x cubed negative y cubed is equal to x negative y. Then the quantity of x squared positive xy positive y squared, where the first term and the second terms in the coefficients of xy is different signs, and in here x cubed negative y cubed is equal to the first term, which is x negative y, is the same sign. So let's have factor first. Example 8a cubed negative 27, since 8 is our perfect cube. So our cube root of 8a cube is 2a raised to the power of 3 and negative 3 raised to the power of 3. So in this method, we can use that factor first, and then let's say our first term is 2a negative 3. This is our first binomial, and the second is the trinomial, which is 2a squared. We can square this one. Remember the signs of the difference of two cubes. Only one sign is negative, so all sign here is positive. So we can combine together 2a and 3 becomes 2a times 3. Then the squared of 3, which is positive 3 squared. Remember that in first term, we have the exponent of 1, and the second term is the exponent of 2. Then copy 2a negative 3, then 2a raised to the power of 2. Remember the rules of exponents. We have multiply. We have 4a squared positive 6a positive 9, since 3 times 3 becomes 9. Therefore, our factor is 2a negative 3 and 4a positive 6a positive 9. So this is our factor. To know that your number is correct, so you can check by using the multiplication process. Use the factor, which we can have 2a negative 3, 4a squared positive 6a positive 9. And let's have another example, 125 x cubed negative 8, where we can have a factor of 125 x cubed, which is 5x to the power of 3, then 2 raised to the power of 3. Then let's have 5x negative 2. Copy this one, so negative 2. This is our first term, first binomial, and we can have the trinomial. Remember that our sign is positive in this trinomial, so we squared 5x. Then we combine together by multiplication. We have 2 times positive 2. Remember the sign, which is all positive, so positive 2 times 5x. We combine this together, and then you have positive the square root of 2, and then 5x negative 2 and 5 times 5 becomes 25. Then x times x becomes x squared. Then 2 times 5x becomes 10x. Then 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And this is our factor. Remember that in difference of two cubes, only one negative sign is appear in the first binomial, and in the trinomials we have all positive. And let's have another example. 8x cubed negative 27y cubed. Let's factor out. 8x cubed becomes 2x cubed negative 3y cubed. Then we can have a factor of first term. We copy this 2x negative 3y. Then our second term, which is our second high trinomial, which is the square root of 2x. Then positive, we combine together our first term and last terms. We have 2x times 3y. And then we can square the trinomial, which is 3y squared. And let's say 2x negative 3y. Then the square root of 2 is 4. Then x times x becomes x squared. Remember the rule of exponent. Then 2x times 3y becomes 6xy. Then the square root of 3 is 9. Then y squared. And this is our factor. Remember, when you check that, you can use by multiplication process. Since we already finished the difference of two cubes, let's tackle about the sum of two cubes. Let's see, x squared positive y squared is equal to x positive y, x squared negative x, y positive y squared. Remember the signs. We can apply the negative sign in the trinomial, which is in the middle term. We have different sign from the first binomial, and from the trinomial is different signs. Remember this, you can copy when you can solve the sum of two cubes. Remember the sum which is positive. So like for example, 125 is a cube positive 1. We factor first. 125 is cube, which is 5e squared. 5e cube plus 1 cube. Then we copy first 5a positive 1. This is our first binomial. Remember at the formula above, which is x plus y and x squared negative xy positive y squared. Here we can have negative. We combine together 5a times 1 becomes 5a times 1. Then the square root of 1. And then which is equal to 5a positive 1. And 5 times 5, 25. A times a becomes a squared. Then 5 times 1 becomes 5. A times 1 becomes 5. Then the square root of 1 is 1. So then let's have another example for the sum of two cubes. Let's have 64x cubed positive 27. Since we factor first 64x cubed, where we can have the cube root of 64 is 4x is 4, and then we can have 4x, then the cube root of 23 is 3 raised to the power of 3. Then we can use first, we combine together for our first term. We can have 4x positive 3, which is our first binomial. And in the trinomial, remember that we can have a negative sign in the coefficients of negative x, y. So we can have square root of 4x, then negative sign. Remember in the formula we have negative, then we combine together 4x times 3 becomes 3x times 4x, and the square root of 3, and then 4x positive 3, bring down this one, write it down here. Then remember the rules of exponent, we squared 4x, so we have 4 times 4 becomes 16x squared. 3 times 4 becomes 12. 3 times x becomes, and we have 3 times 3 becomes 9. And this is our factor. You will know that your answer is correct by checking and using the multiplication process. Like for example, 4x times 16x squared becomes 64x cubed. Then 4x times negative 12x becomes negative 48x squared. Then 4x times 9 becomes 36x. Then 3 times 16x squared becomes 48x squared. Then 3 times negative 12x becomes 36 negative 36x. Then positive 3 times 9 becomes 27. And then we have bring down positive 27. And since this is the same, we cancel out this one, and the remaining is 64x cubed. Therefore, our factor 4x positive 3, 16x squared negative 12x positive 9 is correct. Then let's have another example. A cubed positive 64b cubed. Remember that we can factor out first our first term and the last terms, which is e raised to the power of 3 and 4, since 4b is equal to 64b cubed. Then we copy e plus 4b, which is our first binomial, and we squared a. We squared a first, and we combine together for b times a, so we can have a times 4b, and the square of 4b. The square of 4b, and so let's have a plus 4b, then a squared becomes a raised to the power of 2. Remember, this is negative. We can follow the formula. This is negative, so we can have negative a times 4b becomes negative 4ab. Then the square root of 4b becomes 16b squared. And this is our factor.